Thanks for being here. My name is Mile Marker, also known as Madeline. This podcast aims to discover what it means to live authentically. I work to uncover tools to help me be most present in my life. Each episode, we will discuss themes like how to listen to your body, understanding ways to be true to yourself, and learning what deep fulfillment looks like. The episodes will also relate to ideas inspired by my 2024 hike across the state of Arizona. Let's do this.
Welcome to episode 13 of Musings with Mile Marker. It's been a minute, but I am still here.
It's so easy to just come up with excuses on what kept me busy and what was keeping me from recording new episodes, but I don't really have an excuse. I just decide if that's 2 days in a row or 2 months in a row. It's going to happen when it happens. Since my last episode, I fostered another dog. His name is Licorice. He stayed at my house for about 12 days. And for some reason, I have a hard time deciding to record a podcast when I have a dog in the house, particularly a foster dog, because I feel compelled to give them almost all of my attention at all times, even though I know that they're fine in their crate for a little bit. But I didn't have it in me to ignore him while I was recording. So Licorice has gone back to the shelter, and I'm coming back with a new episode. Without further ado, let's take a listen to my hiking audio. Interestingly, this is the first time where I forgot to do a recording on a day of the hike. Every day, I still captured something that I had done that day, certainly whether it was through pictures or through audio. But the recording that I did was on the 14th day of my hike, but I discussed what I did on the 13th day. So it will all be clear when you listen in a moment. Here is a snippet of audio discussing my 13th day of hiking, even though it was recorded on the 14th day. Let's take a listen.
Today is Saturday, March 23rd, which means it's day 14. Oh yeah, we started last Saturday. Wow. Hard to believe. Yesterday, I don't know how much, I don't think I said anything about yesterday. So yesterday we woke up early, at Romero Pass. The site was really nice. You could see the sunset and the sunrise from the exact same tent. I woke up at like 5:15-ish, made oatmeal, coffee. What really wasn't even cold out or windy. It was really good conditions, surprisingly, considering we were like up on a pass. We started hiking at 6:30. The climb was surprisingly better than I expected. I think because we did some of Romero Pass, you know, the night hiking in, it made the morning better. Then as we're getting to the wilderness of rocks, I think is what it's called, we ran slowpoke. So we kind of flip-flopped with her through the course of the day. There was tons of water up on Mount Lemon. It was honestly so nice, like kind of scrambly, cool, because it was still early morning. We made it to Summerhaven around 10:30. The cookie cabin didn't open until 11, so we didn't go. We went to Beyond Bread and split a sandwich. Then we walked across the street to the general store, got a couple snacks. Then we went to Sawmill and had more food. And we actually ran into Slowpoke again there, and she was with this guy named Sebastian, another hiker. He's from Germany. He was telling us about this hiking visa that you can get and basically like reissue every 10 years. Reissue every year for 10 years so that you can do hiking or traveling in the U.S. For 6 months, up to 6 months a year, which is pretty rad. So he was telling us he got that to do the PCT in 2018 and then been coming back to do hikes ever since. Then we started going down Oracle, and while we were doing that, we ran into a guy named No Name. Today's actually his 67th birthday. He's from Boulder. He had like alpinism and rock climbing experience, so we chatted with him about that, and Boulder and El Dorado Canyon, etc. I was a little ignorant and didn't realize I needed to fill up all of my water in Summerhaven because we had no water fill-ups all the way down to Oracle, but I managed. I bought a coconut water earlier in the day, so I drank that, which was nice. Despite being such a dominant descent, there definitely were still some ascents throughout the day. Then by like 3 o'clock, I spotted Morgan, so Nick and I stealthily hustled over, and then we hiked with her for the last like 5 miles or so. And we actually went all the way to American Flag Trailhead, which gave us a couple more miles. Then we got picked up by Anne from the Resting Oak. Stayed in her trailer, which was really amazing. Super, super nice trailer. Then went to sleep. Today is this day. We woke up and went to the coffee shop right next door, which used to be the former Circle K, which still is listed as a Circle K on Far Out. The coffee shop was really adorable. We had to join a club to eat at the coffee shop, which was kind of cool. Then we came back, went to Dollar General, which was honestly had excellent resupply. Now we're packing up and we're gonna hit the trail. And from Resting Oak is going to pick up, we think it's a Slowpoke or potentially Figure 8. Not sure. She's picking someone up right now who's going to take the trailer next. But I got to finish packing up. Body feels pretty good. Next section is on to Oracle. The forecast is actually kind of cloudy and cool with potentially some rain, which is a blessing because this desert section could be really, really hot. So that should be great.
What you just heard was audio regarding my 13th day hiking the Arizona Trail. The first thing I want to elaborate on is something that I only briefly mentioned in this audio clip, which was when I basically said, oopsie, I should have gotten a little bit more water in Summerhaven because I had no fill-ups after Summerhaven before Oracle. The way that I addressed this in my audio seemed very nonchalant, seemed very casual, but this was not actually that casual. I was getting very upset. I was getting very peeved. Frankly, I deserved to be upset and peeved because it was basically from mile 9 to 22. I probably had 2 liters of water, maybe less than 2. And the trail was very sunny. It was pretty exposed to the elements, not really in a canyon or anything. And I was foolish. I was not prepared. I should have looked at what was up ahead. But leaving Summerhaven, which was this legitimate town, I was feeling so happy. Oh, we just had this town. We had this great little rest and snack and fill up, etc. But that does not give me an excuse to not know what I need to do for the rest of the day. And just having a coconut water during my rest, I'm thinking like this is no big deal. And it definitely was not no big deal. And it's easy in hindsight to say, oh, it was fine. I managed or I made it and it was fine. But in the moment, it honestly was not fine. Like I definitely could have used more water and I was getting pretty cranky because I was unprepared. And did I get all the way down to the trailhead? Sure. Was I super dehydrated and super uncomfortable in the evening? No, I was really fine. But I think the moral of this reflection is everything should be approached seriously. And especially if you're coming off of something that felt really nice and happy and restful, that doesn't mean you shouldn't take what's coming seriously. And I'm glad that my unpreparedness didn't lead to anything more severe, but I recall this portion of the trail as definitely being certainly more strenuous or upsetting. I don't even know what the right word is, but I did not need to be in the level of distress I did during this section because of just simply not getting enough water for the rest of the afternoon. Also, it's the afternoon. It's like between 12 and 4, so it's certainly the sunniest part of the day and presumably the hottest too. So glad I made it through and made it down to Oracle, but it was a little ugly. The next thing I want to talk about is this trailer. So we hadn't really prepared to sleep off trail in Oracle, but I think it must have been Morgan who knew about Anne as a trail angel. And I'm really glad that we had a trail angel experience in Oracle because Anne's place was so nice. She picked us up from the trailhead in her truck and drove us, I think, to get Mexican food, which was the right move. I think we were thinking, oh, do we want to get dinner now? Do we want to get dinner later, etc., etc.? The answer is always food first when we're on this hike. So we go pick up some Mexican food, and then Anne takes us back to her house. It's sort of like a homestead. She had a house, but then there were a couple of trailers in her yard. She had a big yard because she had like 3 horses that were her daughters that she was taking care of, and they were beautiful horses. But so Morgan, Nick, and I stayed in this luxurious trailer. It's called a fifth wheel. And some people listening to this podcast may know exactly what a fifth wheel RV trailer is, but I grew up in the suburbs and I did not have a ton of exposure to different styles of trailers and RVs in my life. So I don't know who called this trailer a fifth wheel, but I had no idea what that meant. I was like, oh, this is just, a trailer, an RV, what have you. But I learned that a fifth wheel trailer is a trailer that is towed from a hitch behind the cab. So it attaches between the bed of the truck and the cab of the truck so that there's this section of the RV that is essentially right on top of the bed of the truck. And this trailer basically could have been an apartment. It was unbelievable. I think there were 2 full beds, like a straight up kitchen and living room. Perhaps this is the first RV I'd ever been inside, or trailer. I don't know what terminology is correct for these, but this portable home that you drag with a truck was outstanding. I was blown away. It was so comfortable. Oh, there was a shower in there. A toilet, obviously. 2 sinks. I was like, why don't I live in this all the time? I understand now why people get these and roam around the country, because it was phenomenal. Super, super comfortable for a night not in a tent. So, big fan of the fifth wheel. So the stop that we made in this town is called Oracle. And it's basically a small town northeast of Tucson. And something that I actually knew about Oracle before is that this is where the Biosphere is. And I didn't end up going, but the Biosphere seems so cool. You can look it up. It is this research institution that basically is a place where you can study all of the Earth's ecosystems and biomes. Basically, it simulates all of these different types of environments that are experienced on Earth. And I don't know how I'd heard about this thing in the past, but I'd known about it, and you could actually see it on our hike down. So while we were going down the ridge from Summerhaven, this is basically just a ridgeline on Mount Lemmon, but you could see it, this little dome in the distance, and I thought it was so rad. I would love to go visit someday because science is cool. I don't know. I love to be curious about things, and walking through all of these biomes over this course of 7 weeks was like a macro experience of what they have in the biosphere every day. So I'm really intrigued by that, and being a researcher there would be so fascinating. If you want to learn more about it, it is the University of Arizona Biosphere 2. This is obviously not a legitimate endorsement. I'm just really curious about nature and science and learning, so that's why I'm mentioning it. I'll wrap things up momentarily, but a note that I want to leave on is that this section is in an area on and around Mount Lemmon, and Mount Lemmon is so beautiful. Mount Lemmon is a wilderness area east of Tucson, and I highly recommend visiting it just in general. The wilderness of rocks I briefly mentioned, but it's just lots of creeks and rock features and trails, and it's so beautiful. Nature is beautiful, and nature is just worth spending time in all the time. I am so glad we camped on Romero Pass and experienced a night when it wasn't that windy, because we were basically in the middle of a mountain climb. But because we were basically on this little flat spot on a ridge line, experiencing the sunset and the sunrise from our campsite was so cool and really special, and not something I ever thought I wanted to do or was even in my brain space that this is something that people should experience. But especially because if you're in a valley, let's say, you can see the sun from 360 degrees around you, but somehow being amidst this mountain climb, it was like we could see the sunrise on one side of the mountain and then the sunset on the other side of the mountain, but we couldn't see above or below us because we were blocked by the mountain, let's say. So it was really immersive of a sunset on one side of our tent and then immersive of the sunrise on the other side of the tent, rather than feeling like a panorama. Hopefully I'm portraying this effectively with my words, but Romero Pass is a worthwhile vista, I guess, is the last thing I want to mention. Thanks for sticking with me for 13 whole episodes. And for as long as it will take me, I'm going to keep cranking these out. Because when I start something, I want to finish it. And I don't care how long it takes. I'm still enjoying this. And revisiting this trail is, of course, fun every time I get to listen to the audio or look at photos on my phone of what I did that day. So I'm going to keep revisiting, and I'm going to keep plugging through these podcasts the way I was clomping along on the trail until we get to the 50th day. Thanks, everyone.
That concludes this episode of Musings with Mile Marker. Thanks for listening. The intro and outro music are from a track called Wake Robin, composed and recorded by my late grandfather, Bob Ackery. Cover art for this podcast was designed by Polly Morwood. Production and editing of this podcast were done by me, your host, Mile Marker, aka Madeline Ackery. See you next time.